Hey everyone, Ronan here, and welcome back to the channel. We got another massive part today, but before we get into that, we got to thank the patron as always. So FNAF World Park, thank you very much for your support over on Patreon. And as always, please don't forget to check out these analytics right here, and consider dropping a like and a comment to help fuel the algorithm, so that way we can get the video to a larger audience. And if this is your first time here, please don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, so that way you'll never miss another upload from the channel. And if you want to support us even further, consider becoming a YouTube channel member or a patron. You get early access to all of the content that I post here on the main channel and exclusive access to things that I don't. But with all that being said, let's get into what if Jessi and James challenge the Sinnoh League, part 11. I hope you enjoy. We begin today's part with none other than the felonious feline Meowth. The Scratch Cat has now been in Veilstone for a couple of weeks, and it has developed quite the vice. You see, when it first arrived, Meowth got immediately to work looking for any traces of this secret organization that they've been hunting since they came to Sinnoh. However, the Scratch Cat was unable to really find anything. Everything in the city seemed like it was in place. There was no shady activity. As a matter of fact, crime was unusually low for a city this size, especially when there is a pier nearby. This brought a lot of dismay to Meowth, as it was beginning to lose hope day by day. However, as Meowth lost hope in finding his friends, it found a new hope, or a vice, as you would call it, something that dates back all the way to its early days with Team Rocket, and that is the Veilstone Game Corner. You see, since Meowth couldn't find Jessi or James, it decided to drown its sorrows in a healthy habit of gambling, though this was a double-edged sword, as the feline had little money to its name, so it began a low life of pickpocketing locals, trying to earn enough money to dump into the slot machines. However, this was to no avail, as the Scratch Cat's luck on the machines are just as bad as capturing the people that took his friends. So because of this run of bad luck that Meowth has been having, it stooped even farther than the Scratch Cat ever thought it could possibly go, as it developed a device that could reprogram the machines when he went to go stick in a coin, ultimately allowing it to bypass the main mechanisms of the machine and foregoing any random odds of chance, allowing the Scratch Cat to begin to pick up paydays. This brought great joy to the cat, as it's something that it hadn't been feeling in quite a while. However, this didn't go unnoticed, as the local residents and frequenters of the game corner, as well as the management staff, were quick to catch on to Meowth's ploy. This even brought unwanted attention in the form of Officer Jenny, something that Meowth was starkly trying to avoid when it first arrived in Veilstone, but had quickly forgotten about in its pursuits of all things shiny. This resulted in the Scratch Cat one day going to collect its winnings from the main cages inside of the Veilstone game corner, when out of the corner of its eyes, it notices movement frantically among the crowd. However, this isn't a patron that had won or lost some of its earnings. As a matter of fact, they were all undercover agents that worked for the city of Veilstone, under the command of the great Veilstone Officer Jenny. She's never been one to let anyone get away with cheating the machines in the game corner, and she's not about to let this happen now, though she doesn't know that the culprit is actually a Pokemon in disguise. Feeling that the noose is beginning to tighten around his neck, Meowth makes a break for it, using its small size to make its way into an air vent before vanishing from the establishment altogether. But unfortunately, this entire event is going to have a turn of bad consequences for the cat, as they had been watching the feline for a couple of days, so they'd figured out where Meowth was staying and all of its frequent hangout spots, considering the Scratch Cat was less than secretive with the winnings that it had earned or the flaunting of them to the public. This now puts Meowth back to square one, as the feline is forced to spend the night in the park. This sucks, he thinks to himself. After all that crummy luck he was having, he had finally found something that was bringing him some sort of joy, and he was living the high life in the best hotel that Veilstone had to offer, while eating the finest foods from the 5-star chefs that the abode had recommended. But now, here's Meowth, finding himself sitting alone at night on a park bench, just hoping nobody wanders by so that way he can finally have some peace and quiet to get his head straight. Meowth knows that what he's been doing has not been the mission, and he needs to find Jessi and James. Though he may be still mad at Jessi, the fact of the matter is they never would have left him alone, and the Scratch Cat begins to feel guilty for somewhat abandoning their mission and abandoning its friends. Though, truth be told, he doesn't have any idea on where to begin. This town is so so squeaky clean, and Officer Jenny has done such a good job at cleaning up any criminal activity. It's almost like what he had heard through the dark underground of the Sinnoh web was only just a ploy to get him here, to put him out of the way. But then that's when it hits meowth. What if that is the ploy? What if veilstone is so squeaky clean because at its core it's dirty, rotten, and corrupted? This causes the Scratch Cat to head to his hideout that he had abandoned when he started winning at the game corner, where he had stored all of his Team Rocket supplies that he had brought with him to the city. He eagerly breaks out his portable computer and begins searching up everything about the city that it has to offer as far as information. And it isn't long before meowth begins to notice a trail. Though faint, he begins to realize that his suspicions were right. This place is as dirty as they come, and if he just turns over enough rocks, he's going to be able to find what he's looking for. And eventually, meowth does eventually find the answer, as he begins to realize that the waterfront is merely that, a front. Every warehouse and building that sits on it is all owned by some sort of shell corporation, but they're all different. However, they all lead back to the same parent company, Galactic Enterprises, and it's owned by one of the business moguls that is here in the Sinnoh region, someone by the name of Cyrus. While meowth doesn't think that the man is too intimidating, he does have to admit that there's something off about this picture, like the man is putting on a front or wearing a mask to disguise his true self. He just seems out of place with all the happy children and people that he claims to have helped with his business philanthropy in the Sinnoh region, and because of that bad feeling that the Scratch Cat gets by looking at this photo, it begins to dig deeper and deeper until it realizes that this organization is not just isolated to Veilstone City, but it has its dirty, grimy paws in every city in Sinnoh. There isn't a business venture that this galactic organization hasn't had its dirty, grubby mitts in, and meowth would be willing to bet that most of them are less than legal. The Scratch Cat would even go as far as to bet that some of the Sinnoh PD, like the Officer Jenny of here in Veilstone City, have even been bought off by this organization. Beginning to feel that fire burn inside and a new vigor rising, meowth resolves that he's done pussyfooting around. He's getting back to work, and he's going to rescue his friends. They both have disappeared on its watch, and it's not something that the Scratch Cat can sit idly by any longer and just let fester. It plans to rescue its friends and shut down this threat to Team Rocket, no matter the cost. And meowth knows just the target, as it sets its sights on the waterfront, as one of those buildings there has to have some sort of answers that it seeks, so it's going to attack at night, making sure that it can use the cover of darkness to mask any signs that it was ever there. With that, the feline gets to work preparing all of the equipment that it's going to need. After all, with it being a one meowth operation, it's going to make sure that it can't leave anything to chance. Later on, in the deep dead after the strike of midnight, meowth can be seen using the shadows to its advantage as it slinks and slides its way across the waterfront from building to building, looking for any signs of anything suspicious. The Scratch Cat leaves no barrel or crate unturned, looking for even the most minuscule signs of something that's not right. Though it's at it for a couple of hours, meowth does eventually find what he is looking for. Buried in the back of one of the warehouses that you wouldn't think would be in operation considering a fire had taken it a few years prior, there is a passage under some rubble, and it leads straight down. However, the direction it leads into is to the top of a cliffside where a giant building that is used for communications throughout the Sinnoh region sits. The feline is feeling pretty good about itself, as it knew that its hunch was right. Now he just needs to follow this passage, and Jessi and James will be as good as rescued. The feline quickly makes his way through the passage, to which seems to run on forever. However, eventually, meowth comes to a dead end with the stairs that lead up. However, this is where the first true obstacle comes into play, as the Scratch Cat realizes that there is a door that has been locked by a secure password. It's electronic, and if the wrong set of numbers are entered, then it will set off an alarm throughout the entire building, warning everyone that it is here. However, there are few that can match the cunning of this feline, as meowth came prepared for this, with a universal code scanner that it uses quickly to decipher the numbers that it needs to type in to unlock the door. Quickly, meowth makes its way inside. However, unlike the building that was in Turner City, to where it looked like the power had been shut down to its reserves, this building is bright and luminous inside, which means that it's used regularly for some sort of operations. Meowth knows that it's on the right track. However, it's going to need to make sure that it keeps its cover from being blown, so it quickly takes to the air ducts of the building, trying to make sure that nobody becomes aware of its presence. The feline scours floor to floor, looking through air vents, trying to find any sign of a place to where it can begin to look up some information information on this organization and what they have planned. This seems to take an eternity, as even though the hallway that Meowth came out in was completely abandoned, every room in this building has had some sort of presence in it. Those weirdos with the bowl cuts that Meowth saw. It's like this place is the processing plant for them, and they all come off an assembly line somewhere within the building. However, the Scratch Cat's persistence eventually pays off, as it finds a lone computer in a room that doesn't seem to be occupied and hasn't been in a while. So, feeling like the coast is clear, Meowth begins to descend from the air ducts and begins to get to work, hacking into the system, being as careful as possible to cover its tracks so that way nobody realizes that it is inside of their system while it is here. Man, this place is pretty advanced, and this system is cutting edge, Meowth says. However, it's not enough to stop this Scratch Cat, as Meowth quickly bypasses all of their security walls and makes its way into the mainframe, where it's able to have unlimited access to all of their plans. And just as Meowth had suspected, all of his fears are confirmed. The people that are running for this building are none other than the ones that are running the Sinnoh region, and the Scratch Cat's sneaking suspicion that something was off with that man Cyrus is confirmed, as he sees that Cyrus is the head of this organization. They call themselves Team Galactic. The Scratch Cat frantically digs deeper, looking for any signs of James. However, he can't find any whereabouts on the purple-haired man. This is when Meowth begins to realize if they don't have any information on him, that means that James must be free. And if that's the case, then he's here in Sinnoh somewhere. That means that Meowth needs to find it. And if that's the case, then maybe Meowth can triangulate his GPS tracker on his rocket bubble in order to find out exactly where he is. But that's gonna have to wait until Meowth gets out of here. So then the Scratch Cat begins looking deep into the system, trying to find what exactly was used on Jessi in the Great Marsh back in Pastoria City. This is when Meowth learns that it was a bomb, but not just any bomb, but an interdimensional bomb. This place is crazy. It was trying to open a gateway to another realm where it said that a Pokemon exists, something of great power, and it seems their goal is to use some sort of device to shackle this power, this being of creation. Man, these lots are nuts, Meowth thinks to himself. However, he doesn't have time for his own personal commentary, as he needs to get as much information as possible before their security detects any type of entrance into their system. The Scratch Cat quickly plugs in a hard drive and begins to download as much as possible while it scans through whatever files are remaining. This is when he comes across something very interesting. Just as it and Jessi had suspected, Butch and Cassidy are indeed here in the Sinnoh region, and they've joined this Team Galactic. Meowth knows that this is a lot worse than what they had thought. With Butch and Cassidy working for this organization, they have the inner knowledge of Team Rocket and how it works, which means that that technology that went missing is because of their doing. And if this group has access to it, that means that that cockamamie plan of them trying to get to the next dimension to capture this deity may actually be something that they can actually do. Meowth realizes that there's going to be a lot of work ahead of the feline. However, luckily for it, the download to the hard drive has completed, but unfortunately, this is when the air vent, the door, and everything in the room locks down as a timer begins to appear on the screen counting down from 10. With a gulp, Meowth realizes that it has triggered something as an alarm in the building begins to go off, and it contemplates its next point of interaction. Now we swap over to Jessi, who we find frantically trying to run through the distorted streets of this distorted world. The redhead is urgently trying to find a place to hide from this ethereal serpent that seems to be pursuing her. As she screams in panic while running for cover, she immediately takes notice that there appears to be what looks like human houses in this place, so she immediately heads to one of the doors trying to get inside. However, this is when she is going to realize that this is going to be all in vain, as while they look like houses, the fact of the matter is they're really just flat surfaces that don't really offer any give or anything else. They just offer a glimpse into what this world is and what it can be. And also, there seems to be these black clouds floating around everywhere, to which Jessi immediately notices, and she has an odd sneaking suspicion about him, to which she confirms when she sees this serpent attacking them with a dragon pulse. However, it's not the fact that the serpent is attacking these clouds, but it's the fact that it seems to be angered by their mere presence within this realm. And she quickly comes to realize that this serpent doesn't even know that she exists, as it's only attacking the clouds as they appear, to which it just so happens that Jessi is dead in the middle of what appears to be in the middle of an area where they have all communed, causing the ire and the wrath of this serpent. But unfortunately, there's not really anywhere she can go, as she is now staring down this serpent who doesn't pay her any mind, but is blasting the area with another set of dragon pulse. pulses in an attempt to clear its home of this poison that is threatening it. Jessi realizes that she has no choice, and she needs to have some sort of cover, but there's nothing around her that's going to be able to protect her. So, reluctantly, she releases Exploud from its Pokeball in an attempt to have it stave off anything that would come their way. She immediately tells the normal type to block the Dragon Pulse that is coming their way, to which Exploud simply turns, eyeing down Giratina before smashing the Dragon Pulse with the Hyper Voice. However, this wasn't intended to protect it or its trainer, merely to signify that it's not scared of the power that this serpent possesses. This immediately causes Jessi to begin to yell at the normal type, telling it that it needs to be a little bit more subtle. They can't afford to draw any type of attention to themselves. However, Exploud is ignoring Jessi, as it has let out another Hyper Voice, but this time it isn't to dissipate any attack. It's clearly to get the attention of Giratina, as the third stage thinks that it can take on this serpent. "Hey, you idiot, don't do that," Jessi yells. However, it's too late. Exploud's efforts have not gone unnoticed, as the ruler of this realm has now eyed down these two intruders that shouldn't be here, and has begun to draw the anger of this creature. However, Exploud doesn't seem to be afraid, as it merely lets out another Hyper Voice in the direction of the serpent, to which it merely vanishes, causing Exploud to look around in a bit of confusion, unsure if what it just did was able to end this in one fell swoop. However, Exploud is the type of Pokemon that would believe its own bravado, and it begins to pat itself and let out a couple of Hyper Voices, signaling that it is the most dominant thing in this realm. Whatever that creature was, it paled in comparison to its own strength. However, it's going to be in for a rude awakening when, from within the shadows, emerges the serpent once again, fully charged with the Dragon Pulse that it lets loose upon the normal type with no restraint, that blasts it into one of these fake buildings that causes it to shatter, sending Exploud into a spiral into the abyss. The normal type can do nothing but yell its name as it begins to panic, trying to figure out how it's going to save itself, to which the ethereal serpent then vanishes once more as if it's going in to finish the job. However, from Jessi's perspective, she seems completely unfazed, like she was unnoticed by this creature. However, there is something that she contemplates here for a brief second. Exploud is falling, and it's falling fast. If she doesn't do something, then it's going to be out of range for her to even recall it. But then again, that could be a blessing in disguise. It has been nothing but a problem since she got here as Sinnoh. However, this is going to be interrupted when a long mechanical arm reaches from out of nowhere and grabs Exploud, pulling it into one of the stationary places that exist in this altered dimension. This immediately snaps Jessi out of her trance thought, and she begins to look around, trying to find the source of this mechanical device. This is when she sees a man and what looks like to be a Pokemon standing there. She begins to yell down at the man, stating that he has no right to do that with her Pokemon. She was going to save it, she just needed a little bit more time. However, the man quickly quips back, cutting her off, stating that they don't have time for her to sit around in the daydream. They need to find cover before Giratina comes back. If they don't, then what happened here is going to look like a stroll in the park compared to what it'll do to us next time. The redhead then turns to Exploud, who is flailing about in the mechanical arms, and states that if you want to be released, then you had better calm down. Otherwise, I'm not going to let you out. This immediately causes Exploud to silence itself for the time being, considering this human did just save it from falling into its certain doom. Now silenced, Exploud is released from its shackles, to which the man tells the normal type to follow him. They will get to cover and find its trainer. However, Exploud looks back as it sees Giratina off in the distance, once again dealing with those clouds of poison, to which the man suggests that it doesn't try anything. It'll have the same result, possibly even worse than before. With a brief growl of its name, Exploud relents for the time being, turning to follow the man and what comes to be realized as his Pokemon, a Shieldon, to meet up with its trainer. It takes a bit of time because gravity, time, and space seem to be non-existent in this world, and after walking on some walls and ceilings or floors upside down, whatever your brain can process it as, they manage to finally meet up with Jessi, to which she is immediately irate with Exploud for doing what it did. However, the normal type simply refuses to even engage with her, as it has transfixed itself with a gaze that could cut a hole through someone's soul as it stares out over the abyss to Giratina. However, Jessi's wrath is immediately stopped when the man who introduces himself as Newton Graceland tells her that she needs to be silent. If they draw Giratina's wrath one more time, it may be their last time. Now, she needs to explain what she is doing here. He should be the only human in this realm from, and her presence here causes a huge problem, to which Jessi merely states that she has no idea what she is doing here. The last thing she remembered before showing up here was she was in the Great Marsh of Pastoria City, and then someone set off some sort of bomb that opened up what looked like to be a wormhole that pulled her right in. Wait, a wormhole you said. Was this generated by someone named Zero? To which Jessi says, I don't know, but it was a woman, a redheaded woman, which immediately causes Newton to breathe a sigh of relief and a bit of frustration at the same time. If someone else was able to open up a wormhole, then that means that someone has found his research, which is extremely dangerous. However, Jessi interrupts the man's monologue as she asks what this place is, to which Newton explains that this is an area known as the reverse world. It is the exact opposite of their actual world, and there is only one inhabitant of it, the one that they see known as Giratina. It is the ruler of this place. However, as of late, it has been very angry. Newton then points to the small clouds of gas that have gathered around the area, to which he states that these things are like poison to this world. A little while back, he had seen a portal open up and what looked like to be Dialga, the deity of time, and Palkia, the deity of space, fighting, and because of their clash, it caused these clouds to begin to form in this world. And ever since then, not only has the world begun to suffer, but Giratina itself, as they share a symbiotic relationship with each other. One can't exist without the other, and these clouds, which are made up of antimatter that was formed within the clash of time and space, are pure poison to this place. So Giratina has been doing whatever it can to make sure that these clouds are destroyed. However, its efforts have been in vain, as they seem to be materializing faster than it can get rid of them. This is an immediate cause for concern. As Jessi asks if they're poisoned, does that mean that they could be a problem for them? To which Newton says he's not entirely sure, as he hasn't come in contact with them as of yet. However, logic would dictate that they would eventually have an effect on them, and it wouldn't be a good one. Well, how do we get out of here? Jessi says. We can't be in this world, especially if it's being poisoned. However, Newton immediately stops the redhead, stating that there is no way out of here. The only person that has control over the ability to go between this dimension and ours is that one right there, as he points across the void to Giratina. It alone possesses the ability to open a gateway. However, Jessi says this has to be impossible. You said that there were people opening up gateways to this place before, to which Newton hangs his head as he confirms there was people, and I was the one who was the cause of it. I developed a technology that would allow me to open up gateways between this dimension and other ones. However, when I realized that this dimension was directly linked to ours, and any influence in this dimension could cause catastrophic results in ours, I destroyed the technology, and then I trapped myself here to make sure that no one would be able to follow my research. But it seems like my efforts were in vain, as someone has recreated my portals, as you and your Pokemon are now here as well. This immediately causes Jessi to become frantic, as she states she can't stay here. She has a mission back in on their world, and it's up to her to find her friends. So she demands that Newton do whatever he can to get her out of here. However, Newton simply states that it's going to be impossible. The only person that can open a portal is Giratina, and it only does it when it senses one of them near. One of who near? Jessi asks, to which Newton says, them. However, he's cut off when Giratina lets out a mighty roar, and as if it was being told to do so in real time, it begins to open up a portal to find one of the objects of its anger, to which on the other side, Dialga appears. Immediately, Giratina lets out an ear-piercing screech as it lunges into the portal in an attempt to grab Dialga and pull it through. The deity of reversed wants to punish the deity of time for its insolence. However, as this is happening, there's going to be something that catches the eye of Newton that is going to cause horror to plaster itself across his face as a mechanical bird flies through the opening, to which the doctor can only state one word: Zero, what have you done? However, as Newton is beginning to panic as he knows who this is that comes through the portal, there is something else that catches Jessi's eye. Something that is very familiar, or should I say, someone. Is that the twerp, she thinks to herself, as she pans out to see that it is very much Ash and his Pikachu, with two Pokemon that she hasn't had a chance to experience as of late, his Chimchar and Turtwig. They're in hot pursuit of that jet. trying to stop it from doing whatever it is that it is trying to do. This is where Jessi turns to Newton, asking who exactly that is, to which the old man states that it's his former assistant who became obsessed with the reverse world, the reason why he decided to destroy the gate technology in the first place. While I wanted to study the reverse world and learn everything about it, Zero became obsessed with it, bent on becoming its master, even at the cost of Giratina. However, there is one fundamental flaw in his logic and reasoning, and that is the fact that Giratina has to exist in order for the reverse world to exist, and the reverse world has to exist in order for our world to exist. If any one of the three are disrupted, the other two will cease to exist, and Zero wouldn't understand that. Now it looks like he's recreated my technology, and he aims to use that device that he's piloting in order to take out Giratina. Now with the threat of reality collapsing in on itself, Jessi begins to panic, stating that they can't let that happen. Like it or not, the old man is going to have to step in to stop his former assistant, and she's going to help, but Newton doesn't know what to do. However, Jessi has a pretty good idea, but unfortunately it's going to require her to enlist the assistant of the twerp. This is where Jessi's brazen personality takes full control as she turns to Xploud and demands that it listen to her. This causes the normal type to actually silence itself for once as it looks at Jessi. We don't have time to play games, Xploud. I need your help here. You're the best chance we have at stopping that thing, and we're gonna need your hyper voice in order to do it. Xploud stares silently at Jessi with kind of a look of disdain for its trainer. However, it can see what's going on as the fighter jet has begun to engage Giratina as Dialga is able to slink back through the portal that it had opened while Giratina is being distracted and slowly drained of its energy. All the while, they can see in the distance that Ash is doing his best to try and deter Zero from doing whatever he can to absorb the power of Giratina. And as the serpent begins to lose its strength and life force, they can see that the very fabric itself of the reverse world is coming undone. This is where Newton steps forward, stating that they have to get going now. If they don't, then they won't be able to reverse the damage that is done by Zero. This is where Jessi calls upon Yanmega and orders it to use its very speedy abilities to go and try to run a distraction with Ash. That way, it'll give them time to get into position. Taking off with a sonic burst, Yanmega makes quick work getting over there to provide whatever support it can, while Jessi turns to Xploud and tells the behemoth to follow her. She then yells at the old man, asking if his Pokemon knows any type of attacks that can attack from long range, to which he looks at his Shieldon and nods, stating that it does. Good, then we need to line up just perfectly, so that way we can catch this jet off guard and possibly knock it out of the air, disabling it for good. With a nod, Newton, Jessi, Shieldon, and even Xploud begin to take their positions as they strategically get themselves to spots around the reverse world that are suggested by Newton that'll give them the best ability possible to be able to strike the jet for maximum force. And while they're getting ready, from the perspective of Ash, the young boy is unsure of what is going on. He has no idea where this Yanmega has come from, and his unlikely ally in a Pokemon known as Shaman that has begun to fly around with him is unsure as well. Giratina is supposed to be the only Pokemon that lives in this world, and that Yanmega clearly did not come from the other side of the portal, as it was closed when it had showed up. This leaves the two in complete bewilderment. However, it is not a threat to them, merely trying to stop Zero, so they put everything that they have into trying to get Zero to stop what he is doing. So with Ash putting his all into it with the mythical Shaman, we flash back over to Jessi and Newton. They have both positioned themselves on different levels throughout the reverse world, with Newton stating that Jessi's Xploud is going to be key if this is going to work. However, they have to wait for Zero's next pass to try and absorb some of the energy from Giratina. If they fire any sooner, then it could mean that their plan will fail and it will reveal their positions to Zero. This is where we find both Jessi and Xploud as they are sitting there waiting patiently, with the redhead stating that she knows that Xploud has an issue with listening to her, but for once in its life, just do as she commands. After that, she doesn't care what it does. Now, I need you to charge as much energy as you can within your hyper voice and hold it until the time is right. The normal type does what it's asked reluctantly as it slowly begins to vibrate on a supersonic level, and it's just in time too, as Zero is coming back for another pass as he's made quick work of Ash and the Shaman that were trying to distract him from absorbing the last bit of energy from Giratina. This is where Newton begins to execute his plan, as when the main absorbing apparatus at the front of the bird begins to open up and Zero engages in his plan, Newton orders a flash can from his Shieldon, resulting in Zero flying blind as he can't see where Giratina is. This is your chance, Newton yells. Now, do it! Hearing the command, Jessi lets loose, ordering Xploud to unleash all the pent-up sound waves that it has within its body, to which the normal type blasts the jet with enough force that the sound waves begin to reverberate, causing something to happen. Suddenly, the bird begins to glow in a blue hue as Newton yells, "That's it. That's exactly what we were looking for." To which Jessi asks, "What exactly did we do?" Newton explains that the power device has been ruptured and the machine is going to go critical, unleashing all of the energy that it has been storing. "Wait, you mean that's going to result?" "Yep, in an explosion," Newton says. "Now, I suggest you get as far away from there as possible." To which Jessi immediately begins to panic as she recalls Yanmega, as it has now rejoined her by her side, and she tells xCloud to come on, they need to get going. To which the normal type takes off running, almost leaving Jessi behind. However, this is going to be little effect, as both it and her are unable to escape the blast, as all of the energy is sent out into the reverse world as the jet explodes, seemingly killing Zero in the process, while swallowing Jessi, Ash, Pikachu, and his Pokemon with the Shaman, leaving Newton to stand there as he watches the reverse world slowly begin to heal itself from the energy of Giratina that was sent out into it, allowing the Ghost Dragon to regain consciousness as it had laid on one of the levitating platforms that existed in this world. With a smile, Newton feels that they've been able to successfully get the reverse world back on track, which means that Giratina, and more importantly, the main world, is going to be just fine. However, he does wonder what happened to Zero and the girl Jessi, as from what he can tell, there's no sign of them anywhere. However, this is where we're going to pan just outside of the reverse world to our world, and we're going to follow up with Ash, to which he is dropped just south of Snow Point City, where the rest of his friends have been looking for the boy, trying to figure out what exactly happened to him and Shaman. However, that's a mystery that they're going to have to solve, while we pan over to Jessi, as she is dropped in a most peculiar of places, right in the middle of a gym, as a battle is coming to an end. However, as the portal opens and Jessi and xCloud exit, dropping into the middle of the gym battlefield, she is met with the face of what looks like to be a steel monster, as she hears somebody yell from the background, "There's no way you're gonna break my defense," causing her to stand up straight, only to see a man that looks like he hasn't shaved in years, holding a shovel as he commands Bastiodon to be on guard. These intruders will not get away. While Jessi figures out her current predicament and where she has landed, we then flash over to Zero, who just so happens not to have been killed in the explosion, but was at the epicenter of another wormhole that opened him up and shot him to a place that he wasn't expecting, as he crash lands on the side of Mount Coronet. However, as Zero exits his craft, he looks up to see something that shouldn't be here. A very modern building that's built into the mountainside, shrouded in the mist that Mount Coronet normally provides, as he is surrounded by an army of grunts, and a man with an emotionless expression approaches Zero, stating that he has been waiting for him to come back, as they have a lot to discuss. And this is where we're going to leave things for now. So tell me, how did you feel about this part? What do you think was going on with Meowth, and what exactly is going to be the outcome of the information that he found? How deep are Butch and Cassidy into this, and what exactly did the technology that they allowed Team Galactic to steal going to have to do with what the actual organization is planning? And how about the events of Jessi getting trapped in the reverse world and all the things that she had to go through? Not to mention the fact that she was contemplating just letting xCloud fall to its doom before it was saved. Or how about the fact that she was spit out in what seems to be the middle of an actual active gym battle, as Byron stares her down, unwilling to let the redheaded escape. And let's not forget Zero, as he was spit out right at the doorstep of the Team Galactic main base of operations. How is that going to affect the events as they come up in the next parts? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below.